the school bus rumbled down the winding forest road filled with laughter, songs, and chattering students. It was Riverdale High's annual nature trip, and this year the destination was Greenhorn Jungle Reserve, a vast, lush expanse of untamed wilderness. Alina, 19, was especially excited. With her camera hanging from her neck and a notepad in her bag, she planned to document every moment. She was known for her bold spirit, tall, confident, with a deep curiosity for nature and life. Wearing casual hiking clothes, she looked ready for adventure. As the group arrived and unpacked near the jungle entry point, 2 local guides briefed them. They were to stick together, avoid loud noises, and return before sunset. But fate had different plans. Scene 2. A beautiful distraction. While walking the narrow trail surrounded by giant ferns and towering trees, Alina spotted a rare emerald-winged butterfly fluttering near a stream. Enthralled, she followed it for a photo. Each step took her deeper into the woods. She didn't realize how far she'd gone until the butterfly vanished, and so did the voices of her classmates. She turned around. No one in sight. A sharp panic gripped her heart. She called out, but the jungle responded only with echoes. She ran in different directions, but the forest floor twisted and tangled her path. Hours passed. The sun dropped lower. Her phone had no signal. She was alone. Scene 3. Dangers of the wild. As twilight arrived, so did a chilling silence. The forest, once full of birdsong, went quiet, eerily quiet. Alina heard a low rustling behind her, followed by a deep, unmistakable growl. Slowly, a large lioness emerged from the bushes. It was watching her, muscles tense, tail swaying. Alina froze, tears in her eyes, heart pounding like thunder. But just then, a loud gunshot echoed, and the lioness retreated with a snarl. From the shadows stepped a tall man in a forest green jacket, rifle slung over his shoulder. Zion, a jungle ranger and expert hunter. "Are you hurt?" he asked calmly. Alina shook her head. "I'm lost." Zion nodded. "Let's get you to safety. It's a long night ahead." Scene 4. The forest cabin. They hiked through a narrow path until they reached a secluded wooden hut, camouflaged between thick trees. It was a ranger's outpost, weathered but secure. Inside, there was a cot, a water tank, a small stove, and a radio. Zion handed her a blanket and some herbal tea. Alina sat by the small fire, exhausted, trembling slightly. "You're brave," Zion said, watching her with quiet admiration. "Most people would have screamed and run." She managed a tired smile. "I didn't have time to be scared." As the night deepened, thunder rumbled in the distance. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then pouring violently. The jungle outside became a stormy blur, but inside they were safe. Scene 5. Stories and Secrets. Over a humble meal of dried fruits and soup, they talked. Zion told her about his life, how he grew up in a nearby village, trained in wildlife protection, and chose to live in solitude to protect endangered animals and guide lost travelers. Alina shared her dream of becoming a travel journalist, how she loved exploring unfamiliar places, how people often underestimated her because of her appearance, but she had a strong mind and fearless heart. There was a spark between them, not romance, but respect, a connection of two souls shaped by the wild, finding comfort in conversation amidst danger. Scene 6. The Long Night. Alina eventually curled up on the cot, wrapped in the warm blanket. Zayan sat near the door, rifle beside him, eyes alert. The storm outside grew fiercer. Branches cracked, animals shrieked. The jungle was alive and angry. Inside, silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken thoughts. Alina whispered in the darkness, "I thought I was going to die." Zayan looked at her, his voice calm. "You survived. That means something." She closed her eyes, finally letting sleep take her, while he kept watch through the long, wet night. Scene 7. A New Day. By morning, the storm had passed. The forest glistened with fresh rain, and the air smelled of wet leaves and hope. Zayan brewed tea. Alina sat at the doorway watching the sun rise over the misty canopy. It was beautiful, haunting but serene. They packed their things, and Zayan used the radio to contact the school's rescue team. They met halfway through the trail. The students had been searching frantically. Tears of joy filled Alina's eyes as she saw her teacher. Before parting ways, she turned to Zayan. "Thank you for saving me, for everything." He simply nodded. "Stay wild, kid." Scene 8. Reflections. Back at school, Alina wrote about her experience in the campus magazine. The article was titled, "The Night the Jungle Spoke." She described not just the fear, but the unexpected kindness, the courage, the silence of the wild, and the strength she found within. Her story went viral, inspiring hundreds. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. She would go on to travel many places, but the jungle, and the man who helped her survive it, would always remain the turning point of her life. Scene 9. Back home, a hero's welcome. After being rescued and reunited with her classmates, Alina finally returned home to her family. As she stepped into the living room, her mother ran toward her, hugging her tightly, tears falling freely. Her father, a stern yet loving man, held back his emotions, but the relief in his eyes was clear. Her younger brother jumped up and down, shouting, "Alina's back! Alina's back!" The entire house was filled with joy. For the next few days, guests came to visit, neighbors brought food, and everyone wanted to hear the story of how she survived in the wild and was saved by a mysterious hunter. Alina spoke of courage, the jungle, and being found by a ranger. She never mentioned Zayan by name. Some memories were best left unsaid. Scene 10. The Farmhouse Celebration. A week later, her father decided to host a celebration party at the family's farmhouse on the outskirts of the city. A beautiful open space with gardens, music, food, and laughter. Alina, dressed in a soft summer dress, was finally relaxing. Her cousins danced, relatives snapped photos, and the cool breeze made everything feel like a dream. Suddenly, her father walked over with the tall, familiar-looking man. "Alina," he said with a proud smile, "meet your uncle. He lives in a nearby village, but he's family. He saved someone very dear to me once. I wanted him to join us today." As the man stepped forward, Alina's smile vanished. It was Zion, the hunter. He too stopped in his tracks, their eyes locked. Both looked stunned. A mix of shock, discomfort, and memory flashed between them. They were speechless. Scene 11. A complicated proposal. What made it worse was what came next. Her father added, "Actually, I've been thinking. His son is of your age, well-mannered, strong. And I believe you two would be perfect together. I would be honored to see you both married." Alina's heart dropped. Zion's face turned pale. Just then, a young man stepped into the crowd. He was tall, confident, and clearly Zion's son. He saw Alina and stopped. In that very moment, something changed in his eyes. He was taken by her beauty, her aura, her strength. "I want to marry her," he said with quiet determination. "She's the one. I want this more than anything." Zion turned toward his son, horrified. The weight of what had happened in the jungle returned to his heart like a storm. Scene 12. The private conversation. Later that evening, Zion asked Alina for a private conversation. They met under the shade of an old banyan tree behind the farmhouse. "I didn't know this would happen," Zion said quietly. "When I saved you, I never imagined we'd meet again like this. I've carried guilt and confusion since that night." Alina looked at him, her eyes calm but firm. "I was scared, but I trusted you. That night was complicated, but I never hated you. I only wished we'd parted without that silence." Zion nodded. "My son is a good man. He knows nothing of that night, and I want you to forget it too. Start fresh. If you accept him, I promise I will never let our past shadow your future." Alina, after a long pause, whispered, "Thank you for being honest, for being brave enough to face me." Scene 13. A new beginning. The next day, the families gathered again. Alina had spent the night thinking, not about guilt or shame, but about freedom, dignity, and second chances. She met Zion's son again. He spoke to her gently, respectfully, with genuine admiration for who she was, not just how she looked. Over time, they got to know each other, slowly, gently, with no pressure, and soon what began as an uncomfortable twist of fate became the start of something real. Not a forced marriage, but a connection born out of growth, understanding, and healing. Years passed since the jungle adventure that changed Alina's life forever. She and Zion's son Adil had eventually married, not out of pressure, but through a slow, deep understanding. They moved to the city, built a peaceful home, and supported each other in their dreams. Zion visited often, still living his quiet life near the forest, proud of how far his son and Alina had come. Life moved fast. Careers blossomed. Dreams came true. Then they had a child, a baby girl, named Amon. Amon grew up surrounded by love, art, and stories, especially the one her mother had lived but rarely spoken of. She had thick brown hair, stood tall like her father, and had a striking confidence in her eyes. By age 18, she was in her final year of high school, smart, independent, full of spirit. Alina often looked at her daughter with pride and concern, because in Amon she saw a reflection of her younger self. It was a bright Friday morning when Amon joined her school's field trip to the Greenhorn Jungle Reserve, the very place her mother had once gotten lost. Alina hesitated when she signed the consent form. Something in her heart fluttered, but Amon smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be fine." The bus left. Hours passed. Alina kept herself busy, laundry, cooking, reading. She looked at the clock. 7 p.m. No call, no bus. Then her phone rang. It was the school administrator. His voice trembled. "Mrs. Alina, we've just finished head count. Everyone's back except Amon. She's missing. We've already alerted the forest team." Alina's heart sank. She dropped the phone, her vision spinning. The room blurred, and the air grew heavy. She sat on the couch, clutching her chest, trying to breathe. Her mind went back to the roar of the lion, the cold forest floor, the sound of thunder, the face of Zion, the fear, the silence, the firelight. The memory she buried deep came roaring back. The night she thought she would never return from. And now her daughter was lost in the same jungle. Without waiting, Alina picked up her bag, called a deal, and drove toward the forest, the same road she had taken 20 years ago. On the way, she called Zion. "Baba, it's happening again. Amon's lost in Greenhorn." There was silence. Then the old hunter's voice came through. "I'll meet you there. We'll bring her back, just like I did for you." Time is a circle. What we survive echoes through the lives of those we love, and when the past returns, only those who lived through it can stand strong enough to face it again.